Hey, strong people, Kale Beck here. Hope you had a nice Christmas and happy holidays. Took a little break to spend some time with the family, but we're back and we're going to be back stronger than ever, bringing in a whole bunch of strong talks in 2018. Thanks for your continued support of the Strong Talk podcast and Starting Strongman. If you want to become a supporting member, go to patreon.com/startingstrongman for unique incentives and special content to support the show. You can also go to store.startingstrongman.com to do all your strongman shopping, everything you need from top brands such as SBD, Cerberus, and more. Along with, we have online coaching, training templates, and Built by Mike, the ebook by Mike Westerling, which is a wealth of knowledge at only $20 a month, and you can get that at store.startingstrongman.com, which Mike is today's guest, Andrew Clayton, 105 kilogram world's strongest man, pro strongman in the heavyweight and middleweight division. And, he's won a lot of things over the years. We really had a lot to cover. I wanted to kind of go through his whole career, but Andrew is so passionate about strongman and winning this title that we really focused on the 105 kilo title and everything that went into that weekend. So have to have Andrew on again in the future to talk more about just his whole career in the sport, because he's only 25, and we allude to a couple things, but he's been competing in strongman since he was like 15 or 16 years old at all different levels of the sport, from teen contests to nationals as a heavyweight to a middleweight, etc. So there's a lot to cover. Also, if you are looking to change your body, and I assume if you're listening to this, you're into training, but maybe you have the training taken care of, but you need a little bit of help with the diet, go to renaissanceperiodization.com. Check out the RP diet ebook. Check out their diet templates. They got a couple new ebooks on recovery methods if you want to implement that in your own training or your coaching for clients, etc. Check out all their ebooks and their membership site at renaissanceperiodization.com. If you're looking to start something in the new year, everyone wants to get on something, that's where you want to go. You're not going to jump around. And next week's show will have Nick Shaw, one of the co-founders of Renaissance Periodization, on to give a little bit more insight into that. Of course, you can also, if you want to support the show a little bit more indirect way, but a very helpful way, check out our Amazon shop with recommended products, and anything you buy, if you go to that link first through Amazon, we get a little bit of credit for. So go to amazon.com/shop/startingstrongman. Jeez, why is that so hard to say? Anyways, hope you enjoy this episode with 105 kilogram world's strongest man, Andrew Clayton. Not Andrew Camby, Andrew Clayton. Follow him on Instagram at Running Strongman, and he posts a lot of videos. Very intense guy, and passionate about the sport, and drops a lot of knowledge, which I hope you can apply to your own training here. It was a pleasure. We went fairly long, but it wasn't because... It's because we could have kept going for another hour and a half. This could have been a 3-hour podcast easily. So enjoy my conversation with Andrew Clayton. Andrew Clayton, you're on the Strong Talk podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. A little sore.
Yeah. Before we get into the whole interview and going through your illustrious career in strongman, I want to say I just saw. I thought you'd like that. I just saw you posted, or Mike Westerling posted, your coach or does your programming, whatever, posted a video. Did you just get done training and hitting a 450-pound axle right now?
Yeah, I actually did push press first. I hit 380 for 4 with actual push press. I like my arms to be a little fatigued before I do the split jerk. So, it was definitely an off day. It was one of those days when I texted Mike and I'm like, I don't know. if I can hit the numbers. And then it was going back and forth. And I said, screw it. If we go out there, I'm going to do it. And then one of those things happens where it's just, I held back on push press a little bit and I shocked myself. And then once I hit a PR on that, I was like, you know what? It's one of those pains that floats around. You can't get rid of every pain in your body. So I said, it's a floating pain. So then I went for the 450. I managed to get it, and it definitely had some confidence for the next couple of weeks of training.
So you just, got done with, the official strongman games, World's Strongest Man, 105 kilo, middleweight, lightweight, however you want to put it.
Right.
However you want to put the title, you won it. And that was about a little over a week ago now when we're talking, and you're already
I don't even know. What's today's date? The 27th? Is it 27th?
Yeah, it's like midweek.
Yeah.
So like 10 days maybe.
Yeah. It's been about 10 days. I was gonna usually the first exercise I come back to is press, because usually that's the least taxed in a competition, or at least you can get away with it sooner. So I think it was 5 or 6 days after I was going to do a press, but then Mike actually programmed a squat workout, which I thought was different. But we were trying to squeeze in another squat workout before I go for this axle record. So that was a little difficult to come back to and hit that. So I kind of just hit the numbers I needed to hit. Ended up being a great workout. It's not something I recommend. Most people, I would say, take at least to the Thursday after a competition, and that Thursday be a light press, and then wait till maybe a week after to really start doing anything heavy. But it all depends on how smart you are as an athlete, like how you train, if you're high volume versus low volume. With Mike, we train every session is very, very important to execute perfectly, and they're usually pretty heavy, but we rest between every session. If you're in a higher volume, you're not going to be able to do what I do, because I'm at a lower volume, higher intensity, and the frequency is very low. So having 5 days complete rest, eating whatever I wanted to, hanging out with my girlfriend, just doing that was enough, was double or triple the rest. And even though it was a very hard competition, nothing was a true max, except the log, which is not that hard, considering, it's a press and not like a squat or a deadlift. So yeah, coming back in 5 or 6 days is much easier when that's the way it goes. If it was a 1,100 pound yoke like it was at America's Strongest Man, I would not be squatting 5 days after.
Sure. Yeah, your everything. I was going to say your hips and stuff, but I think your everything would still be sore.
Yeah. that I don't think I have my soul still. That thing was I came in a little too beat up. I didn't get any chiropractic after getting off the plane or anything like that, and then just 1,120 pounds at 265 pounds is not fun.
I don't think it's ever fun, but it's definitely probably less fun under 300 pounds.
Yeah, I miss being fat for that one.
Yeah, but we're gonna get through all that, but I want to cover the big accomplishment first, and get that all the way, because you've been doing this. You're what, 25 or so now?
I just turned 25. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're barely 25. But you've been doing this sport for probably 10 years, so which is unusual. I think people I don't think they'd know that you're so young just because you've been around the sport so long.
It's the beard.
Yeah, the strongman ages you too. That's the other thing. But we're gonna get to that. But first off, World's Strongest Man. You kind of you go into this whole contest. You had just done both America's Strongest Man, I think, not too long before. So how much actual training time did you have for World's Strongest Man 105?
So I don't know how to say this. I guess I had a head start on knowing I was probably going to be in it over the summer. I think the official invite or kind of like hint/invite was July-ish. I can't really remember. And I don't remember when the events were released. It might have been July. It might have been August. But, I don't need a 16-week training cycle or even a 12 sometimes. I mean, if you're a good athlete, you're rotating implements, you're staying strong and mobile. But, yeah, it definitely helped, though. ASM, I don't like the log. I still don't like it. But I really sucked it up and said, you know what, I'm going to do log every week. And we rotated variations to make sure I didn't beat myself up. But having the ASM kind of get me into log zone kind of take a break for the next ASM. There's still a log, we didn't train it that hard, and then really drilling it for Worlds, that helped. As far as the deadlift, that's always been an up and down thing for me. We figured it out on car deadlift for Worlds, heavy front squats and speed pulls with bands off blocks. But yeah, I would say having a smart coach like Mike, and I'm not trying to brag about myself, but being a smart athlete and knowing the things that matter. Like if an event is going to come down to speed, I'm not going to add more weight and overload that event. If an event's going to come down to strength, I'm going to make sure I develop my strength through my accessory movements so I can really kill the event. So everything just kind of, it carries over, being good at the keg and the 2 ASMs carried over to stones.
Absolutely.
Being good at the log kind of conditioned me to go heavier for max log. Doing a heavy yoke, obviously my CNS was primed. Now we're doing 900. Okay, everything's a sprint. Highest I went for Worlds was 935. Even though Mike told me only to go 900, but I went 935 just to kind of have 35 pounds of boost in my head. Oh, great, I'm stronger than 900. But everything was timed, was fast as possible every set. I talked to Patrick Castelli. He mentioned some things he'd learned from an Olympic bobsledder, I forget his name. So I tried some things to get faster at yoke. So everything was easier because I was already strong enough for all those weights, and I'd already conditioned myself with both America's Strongest Man to be in a point when I could have, I don't want to say the perfect training cycle, but it was probably one of the best 8 to 10 week periods for me. I hit lifetime PRs on log, front squat, Atlas stone, not on deadlift, but it clearly showed in the show I was at my best for deadlift. So yeah, it was a good training cycle.
Yeah, it definitely showed. I watched most all of the live stream and then the clips afterwards, and it's about as good as I've seen you. I've seen plenty of your competitions over the years, so you look great. It definitely worked, and you bring up a lot of good points there, just saying how there's overlap from competition to competition, and you're kind of using one to build on the other, and you kind of had to overbuild for ASM, then you're just coming back down to a lighter yoke. So, it's all speed work at that point. Plus you've been doing this so long that you don't need, it's different than someone who's still acquiring the skills. Like at your point, how to do all the movements. They just need refinement and, a little bit of build up or, speed work, technical work.
It's very mental. It's very mental. Not like I still texted Mike and I'm like, hey, I think we need to do another whatever. And, there are certain events you can do that where you can do every other week or possibly every week, light and then heavy. Yoke walk, I think I only did twice. Atlas stones, I think I did 3 times. And this is after the other ASM. So, there are guys I saw doing yoke, a week and a half out. And in my head, I'm like, man, maybe if I could do that one speed session, but, then I'm taking the risk of, I'm going so fast with a light yoke. I think I ran a 700-pound yoke, 6.5 seconds, and I was going okay speed because you don't want to hurt yourself in warm-ups, but yeah, it takes a professional mindset to know that you've been there and you've been peaked and it will happen again. And I still text my coach. I'm still like everybody else. I'll be like, oh my God, I don't know if I'll be ready, but it's just kind of trusting the process and trusting your past performances. You can't get weak overnight. You can't get strong overnight. So it's not going to go away.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree 100%. And like you said, you still have that doubt in your mind.
Oh yeah.
But having that person that you trust in, whether it's your coach, your training partner, friend, whatever, that just tells you what you need to hear, even if it's, or what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Whether I really feel whether you're following the perfect program or not, that's more important at some point.
Absolutely.
Just having that person to just build your confidence up.
Having a belief in what you're doing, whether it's great or not. I want to give another little shout out to Mike. Mike kept texting me. He said, "You're good at car deadlift." That's what you text me. And I'm like, Mike, you can't just tell me I'm good at something and we not actually be good at it. Because I only got the car deadlift one time. I had to fly to Portland. It was 12 hours of travel. My back was off. It was not a good session. So I didn't have confidence. But he kept saying, "No, you're good at car deadlift. You're good at car deadlift." And so before the event, I said, "Hey, Mike, what's that thing that you texted me?" So he texted me it again, and I go up there, and you got to be really cocky when you're in a competition. People probably think I'm an asshole or really cocky, at the competition, but that's because I doubt myself a lot. I don't know if it's going to pan out. I picture it, I envision it a million times, but like when I walk up to the car deadlift, like that first rep means everything. And that was a really cool moment for me because, I go up to the car deadlift, I'm doubting myself. I've been pinned by it numerous times. It's not a fun experience to just watch the clock tick out while you just try to get a rep and, your competition's going, down the chutes. So going up there and just saying, I'm going to get this done, and then getting it done and then realizing it's easy is like such an empowering thing, but there is doubt all the time. And I get really frustrated as a professional hearing people say, you're a professional, you do it all the time. That doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make it easier to go out there and do max effort. It doesn't make it easier for weight cuts. It doesn't make it easier to train. The word professional you could define in a lot of different ways as being paid or not or whatever, but that mindset is exactly what it is. It's a mindset. So it's not easier. It's just the professionals get in that mindset more often.
Yeah, I think I get what you're getting at with defining the word professional, and in your case with this, I say it as you consider this more than a hobby, and there could be people, at any level where they consider it that, and that's having that mindset, like where it almost in that moment it matters almost more than anything. Am I right thinking that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of took that a little two directions because I know people are going to say, "Oh, you're not really professional."
Yeah.
What I was mainly just getting at was the mindset. Everything I do between my work, I work a full-time job, and being able to train, every second I have, I'm thinking about how am I going to make that training session after work be good? How am I going to do the active recovery session? I spent many hours just laying on the floor, foam rolling, mobilizing, having to stretch, and I don't do a lot of social activities. Sometimes I feel I miss out. But then when you get to go to Worlds and you get to just dominate, that's a really great experience. And it will never be enough to kind of make up for all those times I had to sacrifice. But it is something that I will definitely look back. I hope I get to look back on and be like, wow, I really put it together that day. So that's the professional mindset I think that people need to have. I wrote down a note here, and it's 90% effort is going to get 10% results. So there are a lot of guys that went to Worlds that put in 90% of the effort that I put in. And that's great. They did a great job. But that extra 10% would have made them, what they need to do. But even though they gave 90, they only got 10% of the results because that last 10% is the majority of what makes you good.
Mm-hmm.
So doing the foam rolling, doing the active recovery, I added in more vitamins. I started taking greens. I started upping fiber. I started looking at, all the quality of my fruits and vegetables. I mean, it was something I was actually a parent doing every day, eating more vegetables, eating more greens. I know it sounds crazy. Obviously more foam rolling, more mobility. I paid more for ART and stuff before the competition. I got work done at the show. IVs I had to pay to get, overnighted. I mean, I put all the effort and did all the little things that people say, oh, well, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that, and those little things at the end are what make the big performance happen. So if you're okay with not doing the last 10%, that's fine. You'll be okay. But that last 10%, I'm telling you, is what it's worth. Doing the bodybuilding movements at the end of your workout, doing the stretching, doing the mobile, having the mobilize before the session, writing down your workout and every attempt before you even walk in the gym, and literally meditating on every weight you're going to put on the bar will take you so much further than walking in the gym with no plan, with no log, with no journal, because you already know what you're going to do and how to execute it.
It's also holding you accountable to have to.
Right.
You can change it in your mind midway if it's not going your way, but if it's already written down, it's written down. You got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm speaking for myself. I know the times where I put every little bit I had into training cycles for contests, and I know the times where I skipped this or that. I'm sure we're all human. I imagine you've been there too. Yeah, like everyone has.
I've skipped in every contest. I've skipped something every time.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and you see when you look back the difference. It's when you put that when you make it matter more than it probably should or does is when you get your best performance as an athlete, I feel.
I agree.
I want to go through the events, but before that, I want to just talk on the car deadlift because it's an event you struggled with. And you said heavy front squats, and you know, you said pulling against bands from blocks is what you did for this cycle mostly, because I've I've had the similar experience with doing car deadlift where I didn't train it too much for contest, but
Right.
still had decent results, and I think that's what really did it for me was overloading on front squats.
Yeah. What? So I guess I'll get a little more exact on what I did. So I made sure that the stimulus from front squats is as high as possible. And for me, yoke bar, I can do more. It allows me to get bent over a little bit, but still save the rep with relative speed. I also have found yoke bar is great for stone loads. If I hit PRs in yoke bar, as long as I've done EMOMs or some type of speed type loading with a 300 or mid 300 stone, my 400 stone reps will go up. I PR'd my stones. Unfortunately, I didn't really show at the competition. Those are some dusty stones, and I felt rushed despite being the lead by like 12 points or 11 points. And I did not properly set up my stones to get all of them. But nevertheless, on car deadlift, yeah, so what I did was I used yoke bar, and I made sure to wear sleeves on squat, which give me a little bit of a boost and obviously protect my knees, but also overloads what I can lift. And I just really made sure I went in and tried really hard. Sometimes we don't try as hard on things we don't like. I made sure to try really hard on that. On the deadlifts, if I remember correctly, we did block pulls from, I think, 14 and 16 inches, alternated, I think. And one was with, like, one time I did with just straight weight, PR'd that. And then we did it with a lot of bands, which I was kind of hesitant about because I had talked to guys like Adam Dirks. I can't remember the other deadlifter I talked to, but they said, bands beat them up really quick. But we kept it at a percentage. Mike basically said, at the top, I want you to feel like 90% of your deadlift max so that your CNS will be primed. So basically I'm not pulling super heavy, but at the top I'm holding that weight. So now I'm getting used to holding it. And then you combine that on top of, we already had to do frame in the show. So that's kind of carrying over, we're doing frame, you're getting used to picking the frame for grip and whatnot. So I think that all combined, and then coming in rested, my lower back, I take ibuprofen at the show, but I walk, we just done the 900-pound yoke. I go up to the car and I have no pain in my back. And even on the, I went for 11th rep. I just rushed it. I definitely had it. But even that when I started the miss and I ended up putting down, which was a smart decision, I didn't feel any pain in my lower back. And that was a huge thing for me. But yeah, a lot of confidence going into it. Once I saw guys break it off the ground that I know they're deadlift max, I see their Instagram videos. And then, getting that first rep, I had Bob David. I got to give him a shout out. He's yelling in my ear. I have my girlfriend. She's yelling from, I don't know why she's so far away. She's afraid she's going to interfere.
She's polite.
And just everybody. Yeah, well, she allegedly almost got me kicked out of another show for being in the contest area, which I did not see. So now she's like all hesitant. And I'm like, I'm in first place and you're a competitor. I think you're allowed to be up closer, because there are people that are like not even competing that somehow end up on the field.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say definitely save it for the contest, come in rested, and every rep pull as hard as you can. Every rep, hard as you can, out of the front squat, hard as you can, jam it up to the top.
Yeah, that makes sense with feeling the tension on the bands at the top, because that's where I feel, a lot of people, because the car, it might be like a less overall weight, but it feels heavy in your hand and your head and everywhere,
Right.
holding it at the top.
Right.
It feels like your head's going to explode, but it might be, if you do the numbers, you're lifting less weight than a straight weight deadlift, but you're supporting all that weight at the top.
And I don't know if you noticed, Kalle, you obviously lifted cars more than me, but the handle selection we had the handles a little bit further out from where the little crossbars were. So you could actually angle your toes out and feet out more.
Oh, yeah.
So I was able to get a stance that was closer to my front squat as opposed to how I pull. So had we been back more, obviously it would have been heavier because we'd been back more, but I would have been stuck in a smaller space. And being the tallest, well, the second tallest guy, maybe, that would have been a huge disadvantage because I would have had to cram myself in there. So having a comfortable car deadlift like that with a good vehicle weight and everything made it the perfect day. And of course I saw 80 and 90 kilo guys doing the same car but without weight added. So I mean, I'm not going to let a dude that weighs 175 go up there and rep it out and I'm going to get a 0,
that feels bad, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah. uh, yeah, that's why with front squats, I say I don't know. I'd have to look back at your video, but for that, when I'm training it for carryover for car deadlift, I tell people to take like a wider stance and like an like a fairly wide stance front squat.
Yeah,
I feel it has more
get a little more
carryover.
hips into it.
Yeah, it's a little more hips, a little more carryover to the car. And people always say I have such an advantage on that lift because I'm short, but I think it's more that I'm able to get into a better position with being able to have a wider stance because my
Right.
hips are narrower more so than I'm pulling less range of motion.
Have you done a front? Have you? I mean, I don't know if you have. Have you done a front bar on the car deadlift? I've
Th-
only done it once.
yeah, thankfully, no. I don't think it would have the same kind of advantage there.
Oh,
But I
okay.
think I still think I did it one training day, and it just felt like weird where it was like a two-part motion.
Yeah, it's. I've only done it twice, including the competition, and it's I probably would pick. I would still front squat, but I would have to pick a different. Actually, maybe I don't even know. I mean, you got to. It's like you got to ramp it, but you can't really ramp it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's similar to like when you see like the old World's Strongest Man's of Marius doing it. I think that's probably the guy who had it like the best.
Yeah.
Considering how much he deadlifted and how dominant he was in the front bar, or
Right.
relatively, for his strength, I think he did really well. And he did it where it was like a intentional, like he pulled it, right to the knees, then did like a, ramp hitch thing. He had it down pretty
Right.
good. So yeah, I'd still train front squat for it, and I think it's a little bit more similar, but to, like a front squat, but more so a normal deadlift than side handle, obviously. But
Right.
anyways, I want to go back to event one. Like let's go back to everyone's asking about your weight cut for it. And, you compete as a heavyweight.
Oh boy.
You've been like 300 and 30ish pounds before, and now
Yeah.
you got all lean. You started running all the time. This is the short version of it all. But then you make 105, and I think what's your body? You're walking around weight right around 260ish.
Yeah. April when I did Lynn's show, I was closer to 250. I intentionally gained about 10 pounds since April to, I guess, make it harder for myself, but also because I knew I could execute weight. At that time, I was doing weight cuts with minimal. I just like wear a sauna suit in the car with a little bit of heat on, and then I wouldn't even wake up early in the morning doing sauna. So it was very minimal, and I was always coming in like a pound or two under just to be sure. So yeah, I kind of thought, and also prize money, knowing if I'm 10 pounds heavier, I could do a little better, stuff like that. So yeah, I played the game, and a lot of guys, I think they're irritated by that. And there's if you've ever read the book by Tim Ferriss, he talks about how he hacked, I think he did kickboxing or something, and he won some medal because there was no rule that said you couldn't push your opponent out the ring. It was just like a unspoken, like, not really like the way to win, but there was no rule against it.
Sure.
So yeah, there's no, it's not really the coolest thing just to be the guy that cuts the most, but there's no rule against it. And it's not like I have an advantage. Like, it sucks. I go 36 hours without eating or drinking water.
It's extra work you don't have to do.
Right. And then when I went and got all my body work done, she's telling me that when you cut weight, you can cause your muscles to get really dehydrated and like all the ligaments, and then the blood won't come back as fast. So I'm like, oh my God, that's terrible. But yeah, it puts a lot of strain on your body. Would I advise someone to do a big weight cut? No, it would be smarter for me to stay closer to weight, especially if I plan on competing international for money and often. Right now, I don't really know what's in the cards. But yeah, I would train about 260 to maybe 264 on a couple train days. By 2 weeks out, I was right around 260. And then by like 36 hours out, I'm definitely under 260. This weight cut was a little bit botched. Something happened with my fiber intake. Maybe my sodium was too low or my water was too low. But I literally had issues with digestion like a day before I started the weight cut, like not eating or drinking. So I was actually kind of backed up from that. And I went to the sauna with Max Pippa, who got second place on his comeback in the 90s. And I had to leave early because my stomach was hurting from the water pills and the laxatives. And I literally went to my hotel room and thought, this might be the time I don't make weight. I think I was 8 pounds over. So I slept about 5 hours, got up at 5 a.m., and I just made it happen. And then, I don't get sleep the next night before the competition because I'm making sure I get the IVs in. I'm making sure I'm eating every 2 hours. Like, pretty much if I have to go to the bathroom, I was like, I got to put that weight back on. And it's discipline to do that. And it's a mindset. I had a friend of mine not make weight till midnight, and it really just comes down to it's not the same mindset. It's you have to make weight. I will never miss weight because I never want to be that guy that misses weight.
Yeah, it's kind of like it can get real bad where you need like a medical intervention with weight, but for the most part, it's just you get to a point where you'll pretty much do anything like to get out of it, but you
Right.
can't. Like in your mind, you're like, how could I not possibly do this? Like it's 100% mental at that point. That's why, like I think before like USS Nationals, when every single post in my Facebook feed is about people hitting saunas, and I'm like, they're like 3 days out and stuff. And I was just like, cutting weight's
Oh
not
my
actually
God.
hard. Like cutting weight's not actually hard. The act is literally doing nothing. Like you don't eat, it's hard
Yeah.
mentally, but it doesn't take
Well,
much effort. It's just
it, it
sacrificing.
it's hard mentally. I think with it. So I'm no expert in cutting weight. People think I am because I cut weight. I don't know all the science behind it. I've hired people that know way more about science.
Mm.
Trevor Cashew was the one that gave me my first advice on it. Expensive phone call to him, but worth every cent. I've made it all back. But I think it depends on the person. If you're a person that can handle the heat in the sauna, go that route. If you need a passive way, then you're gonna have to go with water pills and laxatives or whatnot. If you're a person that needs to eat, then you're gonna have to do the sauna or something else because you're gonna need to eat little meals. If you're a person that goes 36 hours without eating or drinking, maybe that's the way you do it. There's different means of doing it, and I tell people differently. Like, hey, what can you tolerate the best? Okay, do that. But I actually, and it's gonna sound weird, even though it does suck. I get a mental boost from it because when I'm sitting in that sauna and it's painful, I'm like, damn, I don't want to lose tomorrow. So that, I'm going out there on the log and I'm feeling a little lightheaded and I'm thinking, man, I did not sit in that sauna at 5 a.m. in the morning to go bomb out on the log. So then I drink, then I get something to drink. I'm holding a drink the whole time. I have my handler, like I have my dad or my girlfriend. I say, hey, if you're like wherever I walk around, just carry water and Gatorade, please. Because every time I stop doing something, I want to be able to, have a sip.
Yeah.
So when you cut weight, you need to remember that sacrifice. It sucked. Don't want to suck the next day.
Yeah, and it's self-induced sacrifice, obviously, but it puts
Right.
yourself in that state. And I found it was I like doing. I remember some of the contests where I did it, and I'm just like, shit, what do I do contest week? It gives you something to focus on because you're not training heavy that week. You're doing so. At least you have something to focus
well, now
on.
I get nervous. Now I get nervous about it, but
No.
but yeah, it is something to if you have to watch your water intake and your salt intake and your diet. On top of your active recovery, you're probably still doing a little bit of.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, you're fresh by a few days out.
Sure.
But yeah, it gives you something to focus on, and all the little details. Obviously, having to find the sauna, having to get your sauna suit, those types of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you talk about the process, putting the weight, I feel putting in the weight back on is even more important.
Oh, absolutely.
Than taking it off. And I just want to emphasize when you kept saying the things that were important, they're carrying around drinks. They're not carrying around Pop-Tarts with you. The fluids is going to do
Yes.
you a lot better. You see everyone rush off to IHOP and everything. And
that is, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's both from Trevor and Kevin Oak does a lot of blogs. He's a powerlifter up in New York.
Who cuts a lot of
and
weight.
he says he's cut a good amount of weight. I think hit 220. I think was one of the classes he had the world record or still does. And he says he has to pee clear before he eats. And I said that's perfect. That's what I'll go off of. So now that I get IVs, which I believe it or not, I've only been IV'd. Oh, I guess I've been IV'd 3 times, but only once for strongman actually. But I try to get the IVs in. I try to get a lot of carbs and salt. Like I literally drank about a gallon of fluid, which included probably about 300 grams of carbs, 5 or 6 grams of salt, a few grams of potassium, and then like all the, creatine, beta alanine, all that kind of stuff before I even had the IV in. So now I'm already up 8 pounds. Then I get the IV. Each IV is going to be like another 2 pounds, so I get 3 of those, and I couldn't even get more in because I was already pretty hydrated. And then I'm having another gallon. Then I'm having some soda, which, yeah, it's just sugar, but, that's what you need. And for me, the carbonation eases my stomach. I haven't eaten for 36 hours. And then I start eating, like, light foods. I might eat something like some chips or something because they're salty, but some, fruit, stuff like that. But, yeah, I don't eat a huge buffet-style meal, and that's a big mistake is you go out, you've already had your Pedialyte and your water. Now you're kind of feeling like, oh, yeah, I'm good. You go get your pancakes or whatever, IHOP, and you get lethargic. And then you go back, and what do? You nap. Well, guess what? I'm not napping. I'm eating and drinking. By the time I go to bed, I want to be feeling like I did before I cut weight. And in the middle of the night, obviously I still have to pee because my body's trying to equalize all the fluids and whatnot. I have snacks on my bedstand, and I have drinks mixed up with carbs and salt. And if I have BCAAs, I'll put those in there too. But I usually just use protein. So every time I get up, which might be 1 or 2, maybe 3 times a night to pee, when I'm cutting weight, I make sure I drink at least 16 ounces and eat a little snack. So there's no time wasted. I learned that from another pro. Even before I was cutting weight, that's something, believe it or not, that's what the pros do, man. They leave food out, and when they get up, got to eat. And believe me, if anybody wants to try that, whether you're cutting weight or not, you will be awesome in the morning, and then you won't have to have a huge breakfast because you've already gotten some carbs in overnight. You've already gotten some protein in overnight. You already kept your fluids up. Now, if you wake up and you're really nervous and you can't eat a big breakfast, or in the case of like these competitions, they start at 9. Well, I don't want to get up at 6 a.m. to eat a meal. I mean, I do, but I don't want to get up and eat a huge meal. So now I know, hey, I can just get a smaller meal in and not be pressured because I've already eaten literally every 3 hours, including through the night.
Yeah, you're not fasted at all.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted. I knew you'd have a good rant on it. I wanted to emphasize that point because it's one. No, it's good. That's why I hope people listen to this so they can, learn and take little tidbits to help them in their own training and competitions. Where, that's what I was talking about. Is you see up to like any sort of major, especially either one of the amateur nationals, you just see nothing but people using stuff like sauna too early and eating too many
it's for
pancakes.
It's for Instagram. It's to look cool, and I even see it with guys that cut weight. It's something just to look cool because you're doing something that's hard. Mm-hmm. So you want to post about your sauna time, and like I post about it. Like I'm on Instagram. I got to promote myself a little bit. But the things that are not cool is not going out. I don't leave my hotel. People always ask me, hey, you want to go to dinner after weigh-ins or whatever? I say no. I had to leave my hotel just to go get my body work done. And I almost canceled that because if it was too far away and I couldn't, and I brought snacks with me, obviously, but if it was too far away or interfered with my eating, it would be kind of like, oh, good, I got body work, but now, I'm behind a meal. But yeah, have your fun after the competition. We had a lot of fun. I mean, we were drinking till like 3 a.m., but that's after the competition. Don't go out. Stay in your hotel, lay down, chill out, foam roll, light stretching in the shower with hot water, do something, just mellow out. Because, going to a restaurant, you wait 30 minutes for the meal, you're sitting in an uncomfortable chair, your back gets tight, you just you lose your focus talking about random stuff with people. It's cool to talk shop. I like doing that. But again, I'm stressed out before the competition. I have one focus, and that's win. So I don't want to go to IHOP. I'd rather wait till after the competition to eat a meal out with people and hanging out.
Absolutely. Let's go back, to the,
sure.
We went through the weight cut. I guess we're going forward. Okay. We went through the weight cut. We go in day 1. You start, you start warming up for max log. Just talk through, you're trying to set the stage and how the whole weekend's going to go.
Absolutely.
So talks through the, the warm ups and
how
that all went.
So first off, Lynn did a great job following through with. I asked him about getting platforms. So he had high temp bumper plates, which happen to be my sponsor. They're the bumper plate to abuse the shit out of. And he had platforms 8x8, which is a big deal because I can't tell you how many shows that I've had the potential to win press events, and I just didn't bicker enough about getting a bigger platform, and I slid my foot off the back. So having a real platform is great. The only issue was, and I guess it's probably just me not asking enough questions. I try to be a professional and not have to ask a million questions, but sometimes that is the professional way. Was I didn't realize that we weren't going to go until after the 80s and 90s went.
Right.
So how I approached this, I didn't know this, but so usually when I get to a show, I try to do the least amount of warm up possible, but still have everything active and mobile. So I'm already fresh from my body work. I've already done a little bit of foam rolling stuff in my hotel. Not enough this time, actually. That was one of the things I skipped that I shouldn't have. So I get there, I do minimal there, and I try to do minimal work on the log. Well, I warmed up to 260, and then they're like, oh, well, we're not going until after the 90s. I'm like, oh, crap. So that ends up being a little while, so I had to basically re-warm up. So those were some attempts that I didn't really want to take. And then because we were kind of not on a time schedule because, you don't know when the 60 guys are going to finish or whatever, it kind of was like, hey, guys, we're up. So I'm like, okay. So the cool thing was we could jump in and out of the log. So my original plan was to jump in at 245 just as a warm-up, jumped in at 265 instead. Then I brought my stuff out there, just kind of hung out in a chair. I'm like the only guy that sat down during my attempts. I mean, come on, guys. Find a folding chair and sit down. Chill out. I jump in at 305. I still don't have all my contest gear on purpose. I'm trying to save the elbow sleeves for when it's heavy. Do 305. We're moving at a really fast pace because there's 2 platforms, so it's 15 guys per platform. Len's volunteers, ran I can't even complain about anything. Log set right, log in the middle, platform wiped off. I mean, even Derek Poundstone's down there wiping off the platform. So I decided to skip the 325 because we're moving too fast, but then we ended up slowing down anyways. Hit 345. I knew that was going to be an attempt that would basically just kind of like get me points. 365 was going to make some money. Unfortunately, we had to switch platforms. I'm experienced enough to find my focal point before I attempt a weight, but I don't want to say it threw me off, but it did kind of throw me off a little bit. Luckily, that was still sub-max. Saw some guys miss 365 because of mobility. Really strong guys. So that was a big confidence boost. So then it was down to just me and Camby, and I kind of said, you know what, we're resting a little bit. It's one thing guys got to learn to do when they're at a higher level is kind of demand the time. I've definitely been rushed at shows where I should have said, hey, you give me another 2 minutes, I'm going to hit a record. So 385 is in the bar, it's not even close to Rob's record. I really wish Rob was still 105. And
I wonder if Joey does too.
I feel like no, but I don't really know. I mean, Rob looks good at both weights. Don't get me wrong. He's strong as hell now. I reached out to him for some log advice. I ended up not really following through on that just because I was so close to the contest. I didn't want more little thoughts in my head. But also Sean, unfortunately, couldn't compete. I'm bummed about that. I've beaten Sean before, but, I want the best guys there. So
absolutely.
Camby's hit a 400 in training. So, I knew he could push me. So I do the 385. The clean was easy. Just something about, I don't know if it's the log being a little different, the platform not finding my focal point, but I had the move on the clean, which is never a good sign. And they got crooked. But luckily how I train, I train for these types of things. I do overhead holds when I'm walking around. Get all the stabilizers strong, and I'm mobile enough to have that happen. So I got the 385. I got super amped up, which was dumb because had he made it, I would have had to, I kind of told everyone we're not doing 395. We're doing 400 or 405. So I would have to go. I think I had 400 that day. I don't think I could have beaten Rob's record unless I was actually pushed for points. But yeah, that was a contest best by 15 pounds and a lifetime best. And I'm definitely my lightest that I've ever competed doing a max log or close to it. So that was a big boost. And I knew in the train cycle that log had to be a focus because I do 10 times better starting with points at the beginning of the contest. ASM, I was in first after the first incident with some people, and that helped me a lot. I didn't win that year. In my pro show, getting my pro card, I was in first. That helped. Both pro cards, actually. I won the dumbbell press at the Arnold amateur, and I remember just being so amped up, I just like opened up, and then it was just all gears were into that show. Once that first event is done, a lot of guys talk about your nerves out of the way. If you win the first event, my nerves are way gone. I'm just ready to hammer down on the next event. So yeah, the log went pretty much as planned.
Yeah, I saw I caught your 385 and you throw out that split jerk, and I knew what you said. You stood there in the split for a bit, and it was a little like, I'm like, is he gonna be able to recover from this? But your arms are shaking and everything, and you slowly walked it in, nice
Yeah.
and comfortable. Like it was a situation where a lot of people would probably panic. Um,
Yeah. What I tell people to do, and I've told a lot of guys this too, and it helps, is always reach up. And it sounds stupid, but a lot of times we think of pressing as a tricep movement. We think lock out. So we think actually activate that tricep and squeeze it. If you're constantly thinking about putting your fist through the ceiling all the time, once you finish your drive up, that's all I'm thinking of. So if it's a dumbbell and it gets crooked, which that happened to me at Lynn's show, I had to walk off the mat. Well, I'm not thinking, oh, hold my tricep tight. I'm thinking, just reach my arm up as high as I can. And now my traps are activated.
mm-hmm.
Now I'm in everything's locked in. And then, yeah, in training, I did push press in training. I think I got a personal best in training on push press. So I have the tricep strength. I had done a 440 axle in training. So I know I can hold over 400 pounds overhead. I did overhead holds. I did walking holds. So when that gets overhead, there's just a point when I know if it's up high enough above my head, I know it's mine. And I know I'll move whatever direction I need to move, and I'll push whatever elbow harder and reach up harder to get it. But, yeah, I was not going to let that one go. It got really crooked. Looking at the video, it was way more crooked than I thought.
Yeah, it was. I was actually like, damn, you walked in and you locked it out and got the no rep. But, yeah, it was a little sketchy situation for sure. Yeah, that's a great point. I can't emphasize enough how many people I've helped, with their log press, and it's simply from telling them to hold their lockouts and push up into it, and just make sure, just hold, doing like sets of 5, people that are kind of a little bit newer to it, like then they're actually building up that, the scapula and your traps that really separate the good overhead pressers. Like you see a lot of people that are strong and they can bench press, but then they go overhead and they go to a show where you actually have to hold it for the judge to give you a down, and they end up missing a bunch of reps. I go to a lot of local shows and I see that all the time. And the whole difference is getting that scap strength and being able to stabilize it.
Absolutely. What you said about the lockout is, having the split jerk, I've never been given, I take that back. Yeah, every time I've done a split jerk, I've never been given a rep. There has been one time I push pressed in a local competition where I knew my left elbow wasn't all the way locked out, and he gave me a down. I mean, I won by like 8 reps, so I didn't need to say, oh my God, I got a free rep. But because I split jerk, Derek never gave me a favorable down call. He's waiting for those feet to be together, and not that he would, but
I know what you mean.
Being someone that split jerks, I've never gotten a free rep, so I know I have to have my head through. I know that log has to be over my ears. I know my elbows need to be locked out. And a lot of these guys that push press get in the habit of, leaning back, looking at the judge, and hovering the lockout. And it does tick me off a little bit because here I'm the guy, quote unquote, complaining we don't have platforms. But then again, in my opinion, you guys aren't even locking out the log. Because I can walk around, I can hold that log, I can get interviewed like Eddie does at the top of a deadlift with any press I do. Because I know it's there. I know it's locked out. So it's kind of like, it is advantage to push press. You'll do better at more implements in different conditions. Like they have some competition in Iceland in the snow. You can only push press there. It's freaking snow. But at least I know that when I split jerk, I've got every rep is a true rep. It counts.
Yeah, there's been some questionable reps at some high level contests with some heavy weights where, when someone's push pressing, the judge is almost waiting for their elbows to lock out, but their head isn't through. Where the split jerk, you're caught it, but yeah, I've never seen anyone. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. It's an interesting thought. I have a feeling you'd still try to split jerk in the snow if it meant the event win, though. You'd still go for it. I've seen you go for it broke with split jerks, and it looked hairy plenty of times.
No, I'm sure you saw me fall down at ASM this past year, but that was because I slipped off the mat. because I definitely had that rep. But yeah, I saw the FCL competition in Iceland or Norway or wherever it was, and it's a Viking press. Go figure, right? So yeah, I probably would just push press. I'm actually I'm not that bad of a push presser. It's just I can lift more weight with split jerk. Like there's been some shows in different countries I've seen where they don't allow you to split jerk. I still think I'd be in that upper third range for most implements. My push press is usually about 5 to 10% behind my split jerk. For dumbbell, I don't know how they would judge that as a push press or not, but it might be like 10 to 15% behind. But, I'm still putting up good numbers, especially for a 105. It's just, I'm better at split jerk, so of course I'm going to split jerk,
Yeah, you can get more points doing it. Why would you do anything different? You still train both ways. That's
right.
something that I think is a misconception sometimes.
Push press is the number one exercise. The push press, if you teach an athlete to push press young, they'll know how to extend their whole body into the, press off the floor, extend all the way, and finish the drive. And then once you teach them how to mobilize those hips, how to actually push under the bar and catch the weight, not jump under. I hate that cue. Then once they learn split jerk, now they got another 5-10% right away.
Yeah.
It's teaching an athlete to jump and put all their force into the bar and finish like forcefully instead of grinding with the triceps.
Absolutely, yeah. With explosive movement. I want to keep going through this. I think what was yoke next. It's kind of
right.
You have a good run, everything goes good. You go into deadlift. What was the point where you're like, obviously after log, but what was the point where you're like, I think I got this, like.
You know what? I still lost sleep after day one. I'll quickly go through it. Yoke, I did what I needed to do to win. I could have done potentially under 9 seconds. I dropped it in my run, actually. I got off balance. But I went conservative, and I didn't try the stance I'd been working on off the start. Yeah, I knew I had a good lead there. I did deadlift, but I knew the points, how they got rearranged was going to affect it. And then the medley, I knew some of the foreign guys were great. The guy that won it, Gregor's, he won the Europe's 105. He apparently had some knee injury. I don't think it was super serious, but it was definitely causing him pain. Probably like a meniscus or something. But if you watch his medley, he literally just picks the implement and hammer curls / forcefully rows as he picks it up and just starts carrying it. So I knew that this medley was real for the guys that could do it. But even after they retallied the points, I was like 6.5 in the lead. But then we have the two events that we don't know how people are going to do. Like I know I'm a good stone loader, but I've seen everybody in our field pretty much that was less than top 10 load a 400-pound stone. And truck pull, we're on an indoor surface. I have rock climbing shoes, but what if those aren't the ones to have? So I knew I had it, obviously, after truck pull when no one could touch me. But I knew I had it when I beat certain people in the truck pull. And that was a huge relief for me because I lost sleep. I only slept about 3 hours after day one. I just couldn't. I literally, I took some like herbal sleeping stuff. It's not what people think. It's not marijuana. And I'm laying there and I'm just so like, I'm trying to calm down. I'm like listening to white noise and I'm like hallucinating, like hearing judges' calls and like playing day one, like in my head, but like with audio. And then like playing day two, like in the future. And I'm just like laying there and I just like can't stop thinking about it. And decided, I just get up and eat or something. I would just try to do something productive towards the next day. But I mean, I didn't know I had it till that truck pull. And when I crossed that line, I was like, yep, I got it. So yeah, I was still nervous as shit about the second day because anything can happen. This is strongman. I mean, if I slipped, I knew that, Anthony Furman and Camby and these guys could just, get above me and some other guys could get, in the right spots. And who knows what happens on stones. I had a hurt forearm kind of. Who knows? Maybe I get a cramp in my forearm because I have the stone sleeves on too tight and I bobble every rep. It happened at ASM with the heavyweights. I had the worst stone run performance of my life. I bobbled them because I had the sleeves on too tight and I came in with my hamstrings not recovered. So anything can happen. So I didn't know it was in the bag till it was in the bag.
Yeah.
Though I did buy the American flag after day one. I had my dad run out and get it because I knew I'd be on the podium.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, the truck pull is such a crapshoot event. It's not seen too much even at, the pro level that, you're going to do shows in America, and you don't know how heavy it's going to be. Like you said, you don't know what the
Right.
equipment's going to be. It's not like a easy metric to tell, like log, like, okay, I know this guy hits about
Well, it's not
this.
heavy enough. It's not heavy enough or long enough duration at the ones I've done it to where we can guess. Like you look at these guys at World's Strongest Man, usually the duration is closer to 45 seconds to almost a full minute.
Right.
And then you got to be heavy, strong, and powerful usually. And there might be, Matthias or whoever, he won the truck pull in the finals. He's like only like 320 pounds compared to Shaw at like 440. But it's not the first time he's won a truck pull. He's a good truck puller. So
Mm-hmm.
you know those guys. But in America, we were doing like ASM was like a 16-second truck pull. Didn't even need a rope, but we had it. And then this one's a 30-second, and it wasn't bad. I mean, it was a good event. Like he set up a good event. It was only 50 feet. That's why. So it's all they could fit. But if it had been 100 feet, then it might have been we really saw who the best truck puller was. Because just looking at the guys going, I think can be beaten by a half second, but the heavyweights use the same truck as us. And you can just see the different styles because I think I needed to move my feet back a little bit, but I had a really, really powerful start. But that wasn't necessarily beneficial because like guys like Camby just literally just went full bore out of the gate and they got a little more level than I did. I was doing the big Z technique of small steps, and I purposely stayed a little more upright to make sure I had more traction on my rock climbing shoes because I didn't want to slip. And I wanted to keep tension on the rope. But yeah, it's not a metric. Most events in strongman, you can't tell the metrics. I mean, my deadlift and squat isn't the highest, but I'm great at yoke. So
Yeah, for sure. So after truck pull, you get the points. There's 10 competitors. You have an 11-point lead. Did you find out before you did the stones?
yeah, I think I found it really quick because the spreadsheet they had it all Google Doc, which is great. I mean, that was James that did that, America's Strongest Man. James Duffenbaugh, last name. And yeah, he did a great job, and it was up super quick. Saw there was only one thing, some error happened with the spreadsheet. It wouldn't allow him to do 1 to 10 points. It did a 0 to 9 in one category, but other than that, there were like no errors. Like no one was coming up like, oh my God, it says 43 seconds, but I got 33 seconds. It was. I'm telling you, they were on par for this.
Yeah, and I really don't think there's any reason that a spreadsheet shouldn't be done through Google Docs that way. Like, we have the technology.
Very helpful.
We should use it. We're past the point where we need to go tape 5 sheets and have 50 people stand around it next to the bathroom.
And it makes everybody mad too, because, then there's somebody asking, because I'm in the lead. I want to know, hey, like, what do I have to do for stones? I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
So if I go up there and then the next guy goes up there and then, then they've heard from like 20 people, they're going to be pissed off. And then when I come up and I say, hey, there's an error on event 3, well, they're already pissed off. So why would they want to, you know what I mean? So it definitely made it to where everybody gets to see it, gets to read over in their own time. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and it's easier to follow along, myself wanting to know what's going on, family at home, friends, everything, it's just like, here's a link. People kept asking me, like, they'd send me, like, they want to know, like, a specific person, which I don't know on how they did on one event. I'm like, man, there's a Google Doc. They're like,
right.
But then they still ask you, and I'm like, geez, like, could it be any easier for you?
I had Mike text me after the log because I guess he was watching the live feed because he had multiple athletes there.
Yeah.
And so he's like, dude, send me a video. And I always have my phone on Do Not Disturb. I'd probably just turn it on, for Spotify or something. I said, Mike, man, I don't ever text you back on contest day. So he's like already wanting the log video. I'm like, Mike, just chill out. Just like, I'll get it to you, I promise.
Yeah. I saw him, a lot of recordings off of Mike's computer being posted.
Yeah.
So, but then you still do the stone run. You could have not. So how do you approach that event, knowing you've already won World's Strongest Man under 105 kilograms?
I don't think it changed it because I know, like, you watch guys at Worlds and they go slower or, like, make sure they don't get hurt. But for me, when I do stone, if I can't think about pulling something, because then it will happen. So I kind of just go how I normally go in training. So I would say I did it like I did in training, other than sweeping off the floor a lot better. I mean, I'm not knocking any of the people there. I mean, the guy on my side, I don't know if you saw, he was holding tacky, and he put his hand in and pulled it out so you could just grab it.
Yep.
I've never seen that done. And that right there was like, he didn't have to do that. So, like, I'm not knocking any of their help. It's just if I had done it at home, what I probably would have done is swept off. I would have moved all the stones, swept them off, swept off each stone. And then I actually like to spray on, is it Lockrite adhesive? That's what people are using for stone or steel. I actually, because my stones get so dusty from the chalk in my garage.
Loctite,
probably. I like Loctite, whatever. Stone right, whatever. I'm making up brands. I like to spray that on the stone before, because if there is any residual dust, it kind of traps it. But yeah, I had one other competitor. I wanted to pre-tack my 400. Furman actually went the pre-tack for Canby. I didn't even notice that. But I just didn't explain it well. I was like, okay, I'll just do it. And I touched the stone. It's all dusty. So I got dust all over my hands before I went up, which was stupid. That's why I slipped on, I think, the 375. I kind of had to bobble it. But none of those were really hard. The 400, I just didn't take enough time. I should have loaded that. That run should have been like 25, maybe 30 seconds at best. But it was nice seeing no one except Trey got the 400. The guy, Gregor's, got it to his lap, but then didn't get it in time. But again, his knee's injured, and I'm telling you, he'll be a force if I have to come back to 105. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to go out in style. Unfortunately, Colin did not pronounce my name correctly.
What did you do wrong?
I guess he combined Nicholas Canby and myself, so I was Nicholas Clayton, and it was Andrew Canby. So,
it would make a nice pairing if you could kind of combine you two, though.
I mean, it's not. Hey, I mean, I like his type of athlete, so I'm fine with it. But when I win a show like that, I would love my name to be said correctly. I mean, the prize money isn't enough necessarily, so at least get my name right. It's on the back of my shirt.
Yeah, I say my name at the start of pretty much every one of these podcasts. Over 200 episodes combined of different podcasts.
Yeah.
Say my name over and over, and I still meet people and they say it wrong. Between how many hundreds of audio recordings of pronouncing it.
Well, that's what got me. That's what got me is, there's so many hard names in strongman, and like Andrew Clayton I've never had my name spelled wrong.
Yeah, that's
pronounced wrong.
That's about as vanilla as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I have a vanilla name, and like, just, and then just so I can say this on the podcast, but I sound really cocky in the interview with Colin a little bit because I'm mad about getting my name wrong. But just so everybody remembers, in strongman you got to play a character, you got to have a personality. So they want to hear things that are funny. So I try to be a little funny, even though I have my mouth guard in, you can barely hear me. But yeah, a little bit cocky interview with Colin, but all those guys I got to compete against were awesome. I don't think I've been to shows where there've been like that one asshole that like is just a dick to everybody competing. But like this was of like 30 guys, like all the people that got invites were respectful, because they knew all the other invite guys, were at that caliber. And then, all the guys that qualified were equally as respectful because it was a big experience and opportunity for them. So, I had guys, wanting to help me out do stuff, wanting to grab me a drink, wanting to get me, whatever. I'm helping out guys. I have no problem with that. Everybody's working together. And even though there's foreign guys, like, oh, how much is this in kilos, for yoke? I mean, we're trying to put, we're all playing nice. We all want everybody to do well. It was awesome getting to go against a lot of foreign guys because you only get to see their Instagram and, like, they see my Instagram and stuff. And, I got a lot of compliments from them. And, yeah, it was a great contest, and everybody was really respectful. So anybody that takes any of my interviews, like, the wrong way is being a character because everybody there deserved to be there in the finals. There were a couple qualifiers, a couple qualified guys that made it in the finals, and they earned it 110%. So, yeah, awesome show, start to finish. There's some things to improve upon. And Lynn knows him. I got to talk to him after the show. He got to visit me at my house on the way to Disney. But yeah, I mean, it's improving for sure. Strongman is growing. And it will be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of years, especially if this type of partnership remains in America. I would love to see more of official strongman and like Giants Live qualifiers, because I think there are a ton of American strongmen that deserve to be at like Worlds or have international opportunities, and we just need to get them out there. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that weekend was huge for strongman, just seeing it all come together. I feel like the fan support, I'd imagine, would be more next year because it's like a thing that actually happened. It's tangible. Versus you're
right,
just trying to build and you're promising everything, and we've all seen so many contests that had all these big promises and they end up one and done all the time. So I think a lot of the fans are just like, okay, they're always a little hesitant to just jump on the bandwagon for something new. But it definitely showed that it's for real. It all paid off. It looked like a great contest. Talking about your interview with Kalle, first off, you can't break character when you do an interview, Andrew. Come on. You can't break down the fourth wall right now. With me.
I mean, I don't want to end up having to make videos about how I eat like 40,000 calories a day and stuff like that. So
you could make one. How about you eat 500 calories a day? Try to go the other way.
Yeah, just like eat gum all day. Like
Yeah.
I eat gum and like one piece of chicken. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would want. Yeah, you live like Christian Bale in The Machinist, just an apple.
Oh God.
Well, I think he
one
ate
apple a day.
An apple, like a can of tuna, and cigarettes and Diet Coke. He ate like the whole time.
Oh God.
But yeah, and that movie wasn't successful. So people definitely prefer the gluttonous approach because it gives every over fat and under strongman a hope.
Wait, that movie wasn't successful? I thought that movie was like decent, but not as good as Batman, I guess.
No, I
I'm
think
not a movie fanatic, so I don't
think
know.
I think it's more it's only known for that weird thing Christian Bale did.
Yeah, the extreme. Yeah. Well, I mean, he had a prostitute he would pay and was basically like his friend. Like I don't even think they had like any type of intimate scene. I think it was literally just them talking. So I thought that was an interesting dynamic. Was like he's like lonely, whatever. I mean, we're getting away from strongman now, but by all means, I can't wait until I get to be a little fatter. I guess I'll go back to strongman. I'd like to stay 105, but as Colin said, eventually you got to hack it with the big boys. So, and that's something that I want strongmen to see is, it's great. We have all these classes. I'm proud of the women, the masters women. I mean, wow, that's great. But yeah, we got to keep that open. We got to keep feeding that open category and getting them money and compensation, because we got to remember that's where it started, was men going hard, eating 1,000 goldfish, right? Allegedly, I mean, that's in my heart, that'll always be the one that matters a lot, because we would not have World's Strongest Man like it is today if it wasn't for those guys that did the first World's Strongest Mans. They paved the path. They tore their biceps early. They did crazy events that were probably really unsafe. And then now we get the luxury of having a Lynn type show in North Carolina where safety's at the utmost, run well, 9 divisions, 9 titles. It's come a long way in 42 years, I think. I think it'd be 42 years this World's Strongest Man, because it was the 40th year in 2016. So, yeah.
Yeah, sounds about it was 76, so yeah. 76, 77, something like that. Yeah, and I think because at the end of the day, it is it's kind of like it doesn't make sense when you say like World's Strongest Man under whatever, right? Because then you're not the world's strongest man. You're the world's strongest man of your peers.
Right.
There's one title. I'm not trying to diminish yours. I'm just talking of a general statement.
I need to, when I talk to Lynn and talk to some other people, that's one of the things that they get mad at me for, is saying, it's like a B-class title. And I do think it's a great accomplishment. I'm proud of it. It definitely shows I have merit in the sport, maybe. I don't know. Depends on if you thought whatever. But
no, it does.
It is about being the world's strongest man, because, it's not like wrestling where there's like a million weight classes. That's cool and all, but that's also a sport where there's like tons of people doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, now we have, and I post something today about all the federations working together, is, there's, now, because USS has different federations. So we pretty much have a weight class every 5 kilos.
Yeah.
It seems like. And like, that would make sense if we were like an oversaturated sport, but we're not. And unlike powerlifting and Olympic weightlifting, we don't have Sinclair or Wilkes. So there's no like way to compare everybody. So now we just have titles for everybody. And that's why World's Strongest Man exists, is because there needs to be one title. And we've seen guys that weigh 265 go to Worlds. Now they don't make it to the finals anymore, but they used to, you know?
Yeah, and they could again.
I'm 265. And it's possible. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. It would be maybe in a weaker group and maybe in a more dynamic type World's Strongest Man, but I'm 265. So it's one of those things where it's like, it's not big man, it's still strong man, but yes, you will have bigger guys doing it. And not to be mean to anyone that's in the weight class, including myself, but it's like going in gymnastics. Like, to be good as a gymnast, you have to be like 5'2".
Mm-hmm.
I could go do gymnastics and be the best guy over 6 foot, but that's not what gymnastics is. It's the best overall.
You're the best.
So it's kind of the same thing with strongman is, you know, like, it's awesome we got guys. I mean, we're gonna have a double body weight like log press in 175s eventually.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome, but I still think 500 is cooler.
Of course,
500 overhead.
Even
is cooler.
if the guy weighs 520 pounds, it's cooler.
Man, if Big Z gets to 520 pounds, holy crap!
I mean, in body
Holy
weight,
crap.
you know.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, as someone who, you know, competed as 80, it's like, obviously, you know, being 5'7", 5'6", whatever the hell it is, you know, it's a little harder to do that. So I was happy that there ended up being a place for me to participate at some level in the sport that I enjoy. But I'm fully aware that World's Strongest Man is still World's Strongest Man.
Right.
You know? It's like with the CrossFit Games, you know, there's one title, or, you know, two, men and women, and whoever is the best at it.
And that's a great comparison, because there are guys in CrossFit that are all different body types, you know, and what boils down to is, you know, being 180, 190 at what, 5'8", maybe? 5'9", I can't remember how tall, is ideal. Mm-hmm. You know, there's guys there that are like 6'6", 220, and they make it to the games, and they're in the top 40 or 50 or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's what, you know, that's not what it is. And then World's Strongest Man, you got to be 6'2", 6'3", about 320 to 340 is, I think, the average finals now. So, you know, we all need to find this. Like, I love that people love strongman. You know, we get women, kids. I mean, I've had my brothers do a couple competitions. That's great. But then you got to realize, like, are you good at it? Are you going to be a professional level? You know, you got to be a little realistic with yourself. I'm not trying to shoot anybody's dreams down, because sure enough, people told me it wasn't going to happen. But like, you got to be realistic how far you're going to go, and you got to always be thinking one step further. You know, when I got into strongman, my first local show, this is going to sound extremely cocky, but I was 16 years old, and I remember thinking, man, I'm going to go against guys that are 30. I got to beat them. And then once I won a teenage show, I'm like, okay, I got to win every teen show. Like, no, I don't want any teenager ever to beat me. So I'm always thinking, like, one step down the road, and that keeps me motivated. And even if you're never going to make it, like, to World's Strongest Man, like, you still need to be thinking, like, one step down the road to keep yourself motivated on at least staying in the niche part of the sport that you're in.
Sure. Yeah, and, you know, advancing at that own level, whether it's a local and you want to win the state championship one day, or then you want to win nationals, or the Arnold or USS nationals, or whatever.
And that's kind of what you did.
Yeah.
Is being an 80 kilo, like, I mean, you know, I watched your YouTube videos back in the day. I mean, neither of us were good. We just, like, consistently trained it. And then I'm sure, I don't really remember your first local ones, but, you know, I'm sure you won a local, and then I think when you pulled over 600, right, at the Arizona one. So, like, Nevada, you know, you made those little. Oh yeah. At Scott and Scott Porter was there. I remember Scott Porter and some other guys were there too. But yeah. So, like, just always thinking, like, one step ahead really keeps people motivated. And I think it's great that the nationals have so many people, because that's nationals for a while for me was a huge goal as a teenager, like, go to men's nationals. But, like, when I got there, obviously the next step was already the Arnold. And then once I got the Arnold, I'm like, okay, I got to get in the pro class. And I like that feeder system. That's why I like Strongman Corporation. I like that there's a feeder like that. I like USS because, you know, they got opportunities. And I like what Lynn's doing with Official Strongman, because they got qualifiers. Like, I want all those federations to work together and develop athletes and develop people in being better and be able to go, like, one step above on their goals. And whether your goal is to make prize money and go to big shows and be an international traveling athlete, or just to, like, get to do a national competition, that's cool. but the mindset always has to be like 110%.
Yeah, well,
Like you gotta give it everything you have.
you can go a lot further. Like one of my first goal, and it could be a good first goal for a lot of other people too, is also back then there wasn't novice and all that, but one of my first goals was I'm gonna do a show and not zero an event, and it took me like 2 years. Like
Oh
that's a
yeah,
goal.
and that helped you though.
Of
Like
course.
getting a zero helped you. I mean, you ate it the first show, right? It had to have been the first show, right? Like you ate it on a couple events, and you're like,
Everything.
"Oh my god,
I did a
yeah."
pro-am. I didn't know.
Oh, that's right.
It was
I think I
stupid.
listened to that interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've talked about it before, but yeah, and then even I think it was over 2 years before I didn't zero a press, right? And then later on you end up going against your peers and everyone's, you're going to be in the top three. I was in the top three.
Yeah.
Where the 80 kilos every show. So it's just, and that's 5-6 years down the line, but it was always looking forward and trying to be more. And even having that goal, like I think that's what you're getting at is like, even when you're 16, you're like, I'm going forward, but you still have that end goal. You're not getting you're distracted and you got to do the stuff in the middle, but you have that goal. Like I'm going to go to World's Strongest Man or something. And I thought the same way. Like I'm zeroing every event and I'm like, I'm going to win a national championship someday. Like,
yeah. And maybe it's different now. I mean, I know I posted on Facebook when I was a kid about getting a pro card. And maybe it was different for you. This is not as much of the media. It actually popped up in my feed. There's a TED talk about not announcing your goals. And I think it's a very powerful thing. I mean, I post Instagram, like I have a record coming up I'm going for. I'm posting about it. I'm trying to get buzz for me because I'm trying to get sponsors or, whatever. But one of the things you got to make sure to do is not announce too many of your goals to too many people because they will give you gratification and then you won't do them. I've had numerous people message me on Instagram or whatnot or on social media, and they're like, man, what I'm going to do? I'm 185 pounds now. I'm going to bulk to 200. I'm going to win that nationals. Then I'm going to get my 231. And like, I love it. Like the enthusiasm, like that's me. I remember that.
mm-hmm.
But you're talking to a professional and I can do one of two things. I can be an asshole and not respond or say whatever, or I can give you your gratification. Now you just got gratification from somebody that I'm not saying people look up to me, but you got it from somebody further along than you. And now you're not as hungry.
You got the gratification without doing, like if you tell that guy
exactly
you can do it, they didn't actually have to do it. Yeah.
Yep. And the same with weight loss. Every client I ever had personal training that came in and said, I want to lose 50 pounds. The longer they talked about how they were going to do it, the less likely they were to sign up, and definitely the less likely it ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I'm a great personal trainer, but you can just tell personality types. So, I mean, I've talked a lot, and I take a lot of pride in making those things happen. I actually told my dad when I was 14 I was going to go to World's Strongest Man, which I guess I kind of did, going 105. I said, I'm going to go there, because he was like, why the hell are you wasting all your money on protein powder and equipment? Like, why are you training? And like, you're not playing football anymore. Like, why are you doing it? So like, speaking those words are great, but you got to be someone that follows through on them, or don't talk about them.
Yeah.
Don't talk about those goals, because then you're going to have to live up to those words. And while I haven't lived up to I didn't finish an ultra marathon. I didn't ever do an Ironman. Those are things I still plan on doing eventually in my life. If I hadn't spoken about them, people wouldn't know about them. And then I wouldn't have to, I wouldn't feel guilty about saying them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I would say the biggest thing is if you're a young gun in the sport, like be enthusiastic, like try to beat that pro you're training with, try to beat that older guy in your training crew, but don't go up to him and be like, dude, in 2 years, I'm going to have your max for 5. You're just going to piss him off, and you're probably not going to do it.
No, it's disrespectful. But if you just go in there and you put in hard work every weekend and you start to approach that, he's going to encourage you while you do it.
Oh, absolutely. One thing I struggle with now is having training partners that I guess the word is you got to be savage. Like the way I treat my training, I want people to come in and be as, we all have jobs, we all have like responsibilities, but for event day, it's usually on the weekend. Like most people don't work. Like you got to be just as into it as your best training partner. So when I trained with another pro, like if he said that was the time we were starting, that was the time we were starting. If we needed to train for 4 hours, we were going to train for 4 hours. Mm-hmm. If we were going to eat before training, we were going to go eat before training. Like that's what we did. And nowadays people want to have it so convenient, which I think is partially because of the growth of commercial gyms having strongman equipment and having powerlifting equipment is we've gotten to a point where it's convenient to do strongman. So then people want to make it in their time schedule. And that's great. You got to have a life outside of strongman. Unless you want to be really, really good, then you got to kind of like, do I need to go drinking? Do I need to go hang out with a friend I haven't seen in 10 years?
Do I care about
like,
having a family?
Yeah,
no,
for me,
I know.
Yeah, and I put that on hold. Like, I mean, I'm
sure.
really blessed to have a girlfriend who lets me do strongman and does strongman herself. But like, I haven't been good at relationships and I haven't been good at friendships and stuff because I'm so committed. But when I look back at it, like some of those relationships and friendships weren't worth having because they weren't willing to support the thing that mattered a lot to me. So
yeah, well,
it goes both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. It all comes, and there's different points in your life, and priorities change at some point maybe. But yeah, it's the mindset you have to be at the top of your sport and your peers, whether it's 105 or going to World's Strongest Man or whatever. But what I'm getting at is, eventually, so you win 105s. That's what Colin Bryce asked you. I kind of feel like he was kind of asking like, hey, do you want to come to Worlds? And from watching,
I think he should give me an invite.
I think he was kind of trying to give you one, and you were sitting there pissed off about your name.
Whatever. I can't speak bad about what. Okay, let's just say he was in a different state. He was a little stoked about everything, so I don't really know. But no, I mean, I'm not saying I should get one just because I won 105. But I mean, if they have American spot open. But then again, I would also feel guilty knowing I'm not at my full strength to compete in Worlds because we got guys that are still like. Brian Benzel was an alternate last year until one of the third world countries dropped, and definitely he would beat me. So like I would hate to be that guy that takes Brian's spot.
Brian seems to be that guy that's the best American that gets screwed over for Worlds, even though he went last year.
I'm trying to think who else I would put in that category, but yeah, I'd probably say so.
Because like he was messaging me and he
16 and 17.
Yeah, but he still went, but it was still like, we don't know, even though it's like I did better than all these other guys last year. So yeah, that hopefully
that's what Obi tells me. Obi says America should have like 20 of the spots.
Yeah, we have the depth.
That's just the reality of it. Yeah, I mean I've competed with. I try to keep track of it. I think I've competed with like 9 guys that've been to Worlds. And I think I've beaten like 3 or 4 of them in an outright contest. Not that we've improved equally. Like some of them are like way better now than I was because I've lost weight and stuff. But I have beaten people that are World's Strongest Man caliper, especially in a wide variety of shows. But yeah, I mean you're looking at some of these guys we see that get like the 5th and 6th spot, and like I don't know the conditions of every World's Strongest Man, but a front carry at 400 or whatever is going to suck no matter what. And then you see a guy go like 2 meters or 5 meters, and he legitimately tried. Is kind of like, it's like I think I could do better than that.
Sure.
Or like he zeros the deadlift. I'm like, okay, I know I can zero a deadlift.
Yeah, I could go do that.
Yeah, I could go strap in and yank for 10 seconds and then
make a cool face for the camera. So is that gonna? You said earlier you want to stay at 105. Obviously you don't have to commit to anything here. I'm not the person that's gonna get you there, but I gotta ask. Is that you're gonna make? Do you plan on getting a little bit of more of that chunk back on and putting the body weight back up and making like more of that's the sole focus to get to the next open World's Strongest Man?
Sorry, I keep interrupting you. I'm thinking about so much. I think I want to do less than 3 more cuts. I'm going to cut for the axle record and try to make that really high. I honestly would love to have all 3 of the press records. I know I'm like speaking my goals. And I just said don't speak them, but I kind of have the dumbbell one. I mean, we didn't really weigh it out. No one made a big deal about it, but I'd love to reattempt that one too, get it higher. I think the 105. I don't want to say it's a jump. It's a place to jumpstart and then get into Worlds or whatever. But I also want to make sure I leave my name, Andrew Clayton, not Andrew Camby, in the history books, the record books, whatever you want to say. I'd love to be one of those guys that's pressed over 400 on the log. I'd love to be one of those guys that still holds an axle record 5-10 years down the road. I won Worlds, so that's going to be in some hopefully someone, I mean, you're doing a great job with getting all the records and stuff down. I mean, hopefully it's recorded somewhere, Wikipedia or whatever. But yeah, like I look up like Hicks. Hicks did 105 in Europe, and I go on his page or whatever, and I get to see what he did. I just want to make sure it's categorized because I do want to be one of those guys. People are like, hey, do you remember he did 105? And they're like, oh, he did?
Sure.
So, but yeah, I think if there's a little bit of money in Europe, if like SCL or some other federation wants to like pay for my expenses, get over there, and I know I can get like, top 3 or top 5 or whatever, get some money. I would probably have to diet down a little bit so I could be a little closer so I don't have to cut as much weight, flying and everything, which is something I kind of, since I have bulked, I do need to go through like a maintenance or cut period eventually. But yeah, the grand goal has got to be Worlds. I would say the next year to 18 months tops. I'm going to be pushing the scales up. But it really depends. I got other plans after the record I can't really speak on. And it really just, one thing I noticed in strongman is like once you hit that momentum, you got to stay on it. So I lost it after my first ASM, not getting a qualifying spot and then just kind of not being able to do anything for a year because there weren't any real pro shows. But you watch guys like Rob Kearney is doing great. He goes over and he does the Arnold Africa, and then he goes to Worlds, and then he's doing log record, like all these types of things. And if you just keep doing it, you get that momentum, and you just slide in. You get the invites, you get the things. That's how you do it. You got to be active
and be available.
I'm really trying and be available. Yeah, and I work a job where my boss is cool. I work hard, and when I got an invite to Russia, which fell through because I couldn't get my visa in time, it was like a week or 2 out or something. I can't remember. And he was like, "No, you're good." He's like, that's an opportunity you get, once in a lifetime. So hopefully I don't play that card too many times. But now that I just won Worlds, I'm going to bring a little thing to work. I'm going to thank everybody for putting up with my moodiness probably before I left work. But yeah, as long as I have a boss that's understandable that, my job isn't why I work. I work so I can do the things that I love to do. I put a lot of effort in my job, but it's was it a means to an end? Is that the term? Yeah. So.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I think you even saw like someone like Kevin Ferris. I think he got second or third.
He's a fucking animal.
He is. He's a smaller guy that's
allegedly he weighs 250, but I don't believe any of this bullshit unless you're on the scale. Okay.
Well, he's made 231 a couple times.
He did, and I talked to him a lot after the competition because I woke up to him a lot as being someone that still hacks it with the heavies. And yeah, he got to compete in SCL and he won some good money. He was telling me, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
So he's definitely broke even on his year for sure. But I think he's done cutting weight. I think he said he kind of like proved himself, and he did. I mean, would I like to see him in Worlds? Yeah. Was there really money to be worth getting? No. I mean, do I think he could have beat me? It would have been close. I would have beat him on logs because we saw pretty equal standards there. Yoke, I don't really know. Medley, he had a very fast medley with the 800 frame, which is really funny because being one of the smallest guys or the smallest guy, lifting an 800-pound frame is more on your body, but his grip is strong, and then not having that gut in the way, those transitions were, he hops out of the frame, takes a couple steps, boom, Husfeld's up. So
yeah, I think he won it. Or was second.
He won it with like 31 seconds.
Yeah.
And to put that in perspective, my field did 27 something was the leader, and then I did like 29 and change.
Yeah, that's with a bit less weight.
A little bit lighter. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to. The frame is going to be roughly the same as long as you can hold on to it.
Sure.
And then I bobbled the sandbag, but he had the same type of sandbag. But I saw where he was faster. He was faster on the pick of the sandbag, and his frame was just as fast. So 2 seconds he might have lost on his little walk to the Husafeld and maybe having to pop it twice. But yeah, guys like him I definitely look up to because they're gonna, they're making money in the sport and they're moving up. And he's competed a lot this past year. I can't even keep track.
Yeah, he's probably like, I don't think anyone outside of his training partners and people to compete against, like he doesn't have a big social media following. I messaged him to ask if he wants to get on this show, and I don't even think he knows how to check his messages to see it. So I don't even think it's that.
I'll try to tag his dumbass and something. So
I'll get a hold of him, but I'm just saying, like he's one. I'm not taking it personal or anything.
Oh no, I know you're not.
Yeah, it's just he's one of those guys that's just he's competed all over as an American, as a smaller guy. I think a lot of people would like to follow him, if they knew,
Yeah.
because people can relate to
Somebody
that more, somewhat.
somebody told me he needs to smile more, and somebody told me I need to smile more at competitions to be more likable. But
That's funny.
maybe they're right. I don't know. But some people just like people for like. There's like no. Sometimes you can't even explain why people like certain people.
No,
Like the crowd just like loves a certain competitor. It's like you don't even know why.
no, you can't really control it. You got to be yourself, maybe a little bit, more amplified version of yourself. Like
Right.
like if you were in a movie or whatever is what way I kind of like to put it. Um, but yeah, and either people like it or they don't, and you see it in every level of sport. There's champions in other sports that they try to do all the right things, and people are like, nah, we don't want to see it.
Yeah.
So you can't get hung up on that. But my point is, like, I think he's done pretty good doing these shows that maybe didn't get the notoriety, but it seems like he's traveling around. I see the results from
SEL.
SEL
Yeah.
shows, and I've heard good things, and I feel like you could be like a mid-level heavyweight pro and probably have a better career than being the best 105 in the world.
Maybe. I mean, what you're talking about the news of these is what's interesting is because we have so much amateur stuff going on in America. Like even like guys going so SCL, we have some Americans going to them that we don't ever hear about like how they do.
Mm-hmm.
I know Rob went to Giants Live in Sydney or something. I know you posted the results. I don't know if you had video. You had a couple of videos in your on your forum or wherever I found it.
Yeah.
But like those are like big deals, and I
no
know
one pays
it's hard
attention.
to keep, yeah, and I don't know like whose responsibility is. Like, kind of does boil down to the athlete. Like, I'm lazy. Like, I didn't do well at America's Strongest Man, like either of them, so I didn't really post much from them.
Sure.
Which could have helped me maybe, but also like the federations that help develop the athletes. Like, I know I've seen USF. I've seen even Strongman Court post things. But like when one of your athletes or an athlete that's competed or paid into your federation does well, that is a great advertisement for your federation. I definitely think Strongman Court made me where I am today because of how I built up in it.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin's done both federations, so both of them can kind of have their little, helping them, as far as getting to compete at certain levels and opportunities. So they should definitely build up those athletes and say, hey, what's on, like if you watch this YouTube video, this is a guy from our federation. He's in Norway or he's in Iceland. And then everybody at home's like, oh my gosh, like I could be in that same federation.
I could go
That's
to Norway
really cool.
someday, yeah.
Yeah, or even just be in the same class of athletes, just knowing that you, like, I mean, look at the guys that were in North Carolina. I mean, you have Stan, he's been the world's, I'm trying to think who else was there. Nick Best has been the world's, Big Z, Bacchitis, John Lane's been the world's. I'm trying to think other guys have been. I'm going to forget someone now, I feel bad. But yeah, like you have guys been the world, and just to be in that same group of people, like you got to feel cool.
Absolutely.
Like, even just compete there.
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer on why are certain things like everyone cares about Worlds, everyone cares about the Arnold. Some other contests get a little bit, but there's big contests that like I feel like there's a lot more people competing in strongman, but less people following the sport. It seems, which is strange, but that's a topic we could talk about for another hour on right there.
Yeah.
But I feel like it comes down to the people that listen to this, the people that care enough to listen to you and I talk for an hour and a half, that they share the results. Like if I share it or a Strongman Corporation shares that this person's doing that, or they just notice the athlete, like it really does help. And they even like I don't, just to get a little bit inside, like how they've changed social media. Like I have more followers on the Starting Strongman page than ever, but if I share something, it's reaching less of those people than ever, just because they want you to pay to promote things. And like, so I have 70,000 followers, but I get less people actually see what's posted, unless a lot of people share it, than when there was like 15. So it's harder for me to get information out there like that. Yeah. So the only way you can
the hashtags and having to share it, that's a big, like, that helps you, right? Like,
yeah, it helps me, and then
sharing it. And
well, it also shows that people are engaged with that. Then it pushes it up to more people's feeds. It's a whole thing, but I try to do what I can in the sport, and help promote it. But I'm not paying $50 or $100 to get 1,000 more people to see that Rob Kearney did this and the thing. Like, that doesn't really help me.
Right.
I'm
And it's just 1,000 people. You don't know if there are 1,000, like with all your links to your store, like you don't know if it's 1,000 actually going to get product or not. So
exactly. Yeah.
it's some made up number. It's some made up number with
mm-hmm.
no like objective measurement on it.
No, it's really hard to know if you got the return on that or not. So yeah, my approach is I
Right.
just put it out there. I try to share it to the avenues I can. Whatever it happens from there, whatever, possible return I get to, try to keep growing this, it just happens. But I don't believe in, boosting the posts like that for
Yeah.
a couple reasons. Because then the other thing, to get way too inside is then it's like, okay, so the point is to boost it so more people like my Facebook page, so I have to pay more, so more of those same people that already decided they want to follow what I post see it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
But anyways,
basically you've gotten to a point where you're almost more successful than you want to be, and now it's diminished returns is what's happening.
yeah, that's one way to put it. Yeah, it's to some extent, but yeah, my point is, I feel like the individual, they might think like, oh well, I shared it as Starting Strongman. There's 70,000 likes, everything's fine, but it really does make an impact when you see like contest results, or like let's say I share this podcast. It makes a huge impact if that same person shared it. Even if they only have 200 friends on Facebook or something. It's just how all the analytics
Gotcha.
work. But,
well, I'm probably going to share it because I'm in it.
well, you'll be tagged in it, so it'll all work out. But
good.
Man, it was a great talk, and I feel like we got to do this again just so we can cover your whole span, because there's so much to talk about.
No, there are other athletes that need to be on here.
Well,
so.
they're going to be on here too.
I appreciate being on here again, though.
Yeah, it's been a while. I did back in the day on American Strongman Radio. Unfortunately, I can't find those anywhere anymore, which is upsetting to me. But
that's funny. I actually have my interviews somehow saved in my iTunes, and I don't know how to work iCloud or iTunes. You can ask anybody that knows me. I don't know how to do that stuff. So like one day I just hit play on my computer because I thought I had my Spotify up still, and I just like hear your voice, and I'm like, what the heck is going on?
It must have been horrible.
Yeah, it was nerve wracking. I think I tried to throw my Mac somewhere, but. It didn't break, so.
That's good times though. But man, appreciate coming on.
Yep.
You got it's Instagram at Running Strongman, Andrew Clayton on Facebook. Anything else? Sponsors? Anything else you want to get out there?
I'll give. I've already mentioned Mike Westerling. You can. I think you can get it through your site, right?
Yeah, we have
coaching and get.
Yeah, we have Built by Mike, his book up on the site.
Correct.
Talking
that is
to
a great
him.
book.
It's a great read.
Anybody that it's what $19.99. I mean, $20 is like how much the first shot cost after Worlds. So like you're gonna learn so much more. So yeah, I would advise you to go to Starting Strongman. All the sales and stuff. Get Mike's book. His coaching is basic, but basic is how you get good. But yeah, I still work with him. High Temp is a sponsor I've been working with since earlier this year. They're going to help me out with the record breakers, and they're doing a lot of work. And then also give a shout out to Strongman Corp and United States Strongman and Official Strongman, all these federations that are trying to get more opportunities and stuff. And then just because I just came from Worlds, all of Lynn's crew and all the trained Strongman people, this awesome job. And then last, obviously Starting Strongman, because a lot of you guys don't realize that without Kale, we would have like a tiny little bit of knowledge out there in one place. And now we have a mega amount of knowledge and data and all the work you had to put in remaking that website, which I can only imagine. So yeah, a big shout out to you too, Kale. We all appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it a lot. Coming from you. And I want to mention, before we go, just to kind of clarify, it's been half mentioned. So you're doing a record breakers for the 105 kilo axle clean and press in Georgia in a couple weeks. That's what's going on?
It's going to be in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
Jerry Pritchett's hosting it, which is going to be cool because, having someone of his caliber who, isn't going to give me a soft, easy down call, he's going to give me a real deal. But yeah, I've already contacted him. We're going to try, we still got about 3.5 weeks. I want to get an iron mine axle without tape, and we're going to try to get the competition style bumpers from High Temp, so it'll be really official. I think standardizing records, if we're going to do it that way, they need to be on things we all know are true weight. But yeah, my goal is to hit 200 kilos or 440 The current record is 180 kilos, 396. And the American record by any pro is 460 by Scott Weech. So I've always loved axle press, so hopefully it comes back. But as I said before in the interview, I'm still working my log. I want to be good at that, and also at dumbbell. So
Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, good luck at the axle breakers. Good luck in everything coming up. Thanks for coming on, and keep me updated on how it goes, and hopefully put out a little news clip, saying
awesome.
you got that record. And you have a good night, and thanks everyone for listening. The Strong Talk Podcast. I'm Kalle Beck, and we'll talk to you next week.